From the title on the screen, it's pretty obvious of what I am talking about these subjects. Now, there are two particular subjects that the Miglies or the MGTOW community will talk about. Now, granted, the MGTOWs are not the whole MGTOW community, but they are they're virtually a special group within the MGTOW community. By the way, I'm going to give Amanda Wolfchild a thumbs up on suggesting that I call them Miglies because it really does work, actually. It does piss off quite a few of MGTOWs, so I'll refer to the crazy ones as Miglies. Now, let's get started. Now, there are two claims I've noticed that some of these Miglies will inevitably try and push forward whenever they're talking about MGTOWism or what they propose to deal with women. One of these ideas is sex robots for replacement of women, and the whole idea or purpose of that is to basically, if women are that bad, therefore let's build robots in the future and just have sex with them instead. However, I do not think that would go well for them in particular, of two reasons. Firstly, the obvious. Women would also do the same thing with men. They would basically make male robots and have sex with them. So it wouldn't exactly work in that aspect. And the second potential thing that wouldn't work is that most people are just not interested in having sex with robots. They prefer the real deal. They prefer something actual flesh and actually real. And a third option, which I should have mentioned as the third reason why it wouldn't work from beginnings of two, but oh well. And the third reason is that even if it was a possibility, a sex robot would be astronomically a lot more expensive at first in the main production line. Like, for example, like if for some reason I amputated my leg and they just came out with a brand new robotic leg, I would imagine that sort of innovation would ultimately be a lot more pricier above my pay grades in order to actually afford it. And let's move on to artificial wombs and what some of them think in terms of the artificial womb sort of idea. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm all for artificial wombs for individuals that are infertile, who are incapable of actually giving birth to babies. Like, biologically, they cannot give birth, and that makes sense to have artificial wombs so that those women can actually get births if they choose to. However, where I disagree is with the Miglies on this one little part where they think it's going to be the replacement for women if we can somehow genetically modify or do whatever woody-dee thing and just pop out only male babies. Now, there's some issues with that, like, ultimately, the only way that I know of that you can actually reproduce is if we had eggs. Even with an artificial womb, you'd still need eggs to start the process. And where would you get the eggs? Well, women. It wouldn't exactly work if you just repopulate the world with only men without women, because eventually you're going to run out of eggs and you'll be basically screwing the rest of the human race, because nobody will be able to get enough eggs to keep the line of human beings in production. Not only that, the other problem of the artificial womb is that they don't take into consideration that, much like sex robots, the first line of that sort of products is going to be well beyond the average person's pay grade to even afford that. And it'll be quite some time before the general population will be able to even have access financially to even acquire such technologies. Now, the big reason why I'm criticizing these 2 points that the Miglies constantly try and preach as the ultimate solutions for the society is largely because I see these two occurring things always being brought up over and over again. And I always found these two concepts as very ridiculous. Mainly because they think robots are replacement of women, and that somehow artificial wombs will ultimately fix the system, since at that point they think they won't even need women anymore. But ultimately, those are the reasons why I disagree with those sort of common claims. And don't get me wrong, I really do like the idea of artificial wombs. It's just I don't like the idea of what the Migleys propose in terms of just as this eradication of all women. And certainly I don't agree with the Migleys on the idea that somehow robots will be the replacement of women, when they don't realize that if robots do gain sentience, then who's to say that the robot might not want to try and protest for their rights and ultimately try and divorce that man? You know, that's a thought to be thinking about, you have to admit.